Donald Trump went on Morning Joe and gave a long-winded response to a very simple question about whether or not we should raise the minimum wage.
Donald, I want to ask you about the American dream. Your slogan is Make America Great Again. I'm curious on the issue of wages, which have been flat for years now. Could you give us some specifics on how you would address that issue? And do you think the minimum wage should be raised across the board?
So, Mika, it's such a nasty question because the answer has to be nasty. You know, we're in a global economy now. It used to be people would leave New York State and companies would leave New York State or leave another state and go to Florida, go to Texas, go to wherever they go because the wages, all sorts of different things. Well, now it's not leaving New York or New Jersey or wherever they may be leaving. Now they're leaving the United States and they're going to other countries because they're competing for low taxes and they're competing for low wages and they're competing for all sorts of things. And, one of the things that's happening is China with what they're doing with their currency, with the devaluations. They're making it very, very difficult for companies to compete. So what's happening now is people are shopping. Companies are shopping. I see companies where they have international financiers, people that live in London. They're not even citizens of the United States. They're shopping their companies to different places. And we can't have a situation where our labor is so much more expensive than other countries that we can no longer compete. One of the things I'll do if I win, I'm going to make us so competitive as a country. But we are no longer competing against one state against the other. We're competing, it's the United States against other places. Where the taxes are lower, where the wages are lower, where lots of things are lower. Now, I want to create jobs so that you don't have to worry about the minimum wage. You're doing a great job, and they're making much more than the minimum wage. But I think having a low minimum wage is not a bad thing for this country, Mika.
What happened, man? I thought you were, speaking for the people. You pretend like, oh, yeah, I'm the billionaire guy, but I'm a leader, and I tell it like it is, and I'm looking out for Americans. We need to make America great again by paying them less, pay the minimum wage workers less. That's the problem with what you're saying, man, is that, what is it, over 80% of the American people want to raise the minimum wage, and you're like, fuck that. It's not a bad thing that we have a low minimum wage. Who says that? How ridiculous is that? Now, understand, what he's describing there is actually not wrong. What he's giving you is the businessman's perspective. And that perspective is, well, I can pay, somebody in Iowa $7.25 an hour to make my widgets, or I can ship it to Cambodia and pay somebody 37 cents to make it. What are you going to do if you're a businessman? You don't have a choice. Of course you're going to... your whole purpose in existence, your corporation, is trying to make a profit. That's the whole point. That's the way the system is created. So what are you going to do? Of course you're going to, send production to Cambodia, and you're going to pocket the rest of the money. It's economics 101. But see, that's where government comes in, and that's where government needs to set proper rules to make sure that... to make sure that the American people don't get screwed over, along with poor kids in Cambodia getting screwed over, and they're making only 37 cents, and they still can't even afford to live. And by the way, $7.25 here, you can't live on that either, so that's also a problem. So how do you solve that? Well, here's how you solve that. Not only do you raise the minimum wage, you also, to a living wage, to be clear, you also punish corporations via fines and taxes that outsource jobs. Very simple. So you make it so that the businesses are incentivized to set up shop here in America. You make it so that their choices are pay $15 an hour to somebody here to make your widgets, or if you send it overseas, sure, you may pay the kid in Cambodia 37 cents, but when you ship your goods back into the country where you want to sell them, well, we're going to add a tax on top of that of $15. So now it costs you $15.37 an hour for the Cambodian kid to make it. So what are you going to do? You're going to say, well, I'm going to pay the American because I'll actually save money if I pay the American, and it'll be made in America, and our economy here will get better. You know what this is called, guys? It's called protectionism. I'm one of 7 people left in America who openly advocates for protectionism. The opposite of protectionism is what they call free trade. In reality, it's just outsourcing all American jobs. It used to be the case that when you imported foreign goods, there would be what's called a tariff on it. Now, again, a tariff makes it so that the imported goods are more expensive than the goods made in America. So that would then do what? Incentivize the American people to buy American. And then that would keep jobs in America. And then that would make it so your neighbor can have a middle-class living. But if you get rid of protectionism and you do so-called free trade, it's a race to the bottom. Now people aren't buying American anymore, and the cost of labor is going down, and people are living in poverty more here, and at the same time that's going on, it's not like the person in Cambodia is living much better. They went from making, 35 cents an hour beforehand at some other place to 37 cents an hour with an American corporation barking at them all day long. It's not like they're doing better. So who wins in that scenario? Just the businessman. That's it. Just the corporation. That's it. So just Donald Trump wins. That's why he's talking about this problem from this perspective. He's not lying to you. He's being honest. He's saying, from my perspective, from a businessman's perspective, of course what you want to do is keep the minimum wage low in America, or not have a minimum wage here in America. And he says that way we can be competitive with places like Mexico and Cambodia and Bangladesh. But we don't want to drive wages down to be, quote, competitive. We want to have good wages and be competitive. And the way you do that is you punish corporations that outsource jobs. We used to do it. We don't do it anymore because today the corporations have bought the politicians. So the politicians do what the corporations want, even if it hurts the American people, and we know it does. And under Donald Trump's idea, it would hurt the American people even more. So you can stop saying, I want to make America great again, because if you're not interested in raising the minimum wage to a living wage, you don't want to make America great again. You want to make America more poor.